All right, let's just jump right in. We've all heard about the dream of owning real estate, right? You buy a property, you get a tenant, and you collect that sweet, sweet rent check every month. But what if you could do all of that online? What if you could build incredibly valuable digital assets that generate passive income, but without needing a huge pile of cash to get started? Well, that is exactly what we are going to break down today.
I mean, just think about it for a second. Physical real estate. Yeah, it's a proven way to build wealth, for sure. But it takes a ton of capital, and the maintenance can be an absolute nightmare. Digital real estate, though, it completely flips that script. We're talking about a super low cost to get in the game, and the potential for real, honest-to-goodness passive cash flow once you have it up and running. That's the whole idea here.
So what is this business model actually called? Well, it's known as rank and rent. And look, if there is only one thing you take away from this entire explainer, I want it to be this. With this model, you are building an asset that you and only you own and control. That's the key.
So here's the nuts and bolts of it. You build a really simple website for a local service. Think, emergency plumber in Austin or tree removal in Tampa. Then you use SEO, that's search engine optimization, to push that website all the way to the top of Google. Once it's there and getting phone calls, you find a local business who desperately wants more customers, and you rent them the leads that your website is generating. You've basically built a prime piece of real estate on Google's Main Street, and local businesses are lining up to be your tenant.
Now, this is where it gets really, really interesting, especially when you compare it to doing normal client work. See, with client SEO, you're working hard to build up their website, their asset. The second they decide to stop paying you, poof, you walk away with absolutely nothing to show for all that effort. But with rank and rent, you own the property. If one tenant decides to leave, no big deal. You just find another one. You keep all the value you worked so hard to build.
And this right here, this is a massive strategic advantage. Unlike something like affiliate marketing, where you're trying to rank for best credit cards, and you're competing against these giant global publishing companies, rank and rent is hyper-local. Your competition isn't some media empire, it's probably just a local roofer whose website hasn't been updated since 2012. The playing field is just so much more manageable.
Okay, so you get the what and the why. Now let's get into the how. Let's pull back the curtain and walk through the exact 6-step blueprint that'll take you from just an idea to a reliable, recurring income stream.
This is the roadmap. There's no guesswork here. It's a proven workflow. It all kicks off with picking the right service in the right city. After that, you figure out exactly what customers are searching for, you build a simple site to attract them, you get it ranked in Google, you track every single lead to prove your value, and then, finally, you find a great business to rent your asset to. That's the whole path from start to finish.
Let me be crystal clear. Step 1 is, without a doubt, the most important part of this whole process. The math has to make sense. Just look at this chart. A single lead for a $10,000 roofing job, that is incredibly valuable. So that roofer can easily pay you a high monthly rent for it. But a lead for a $200 house cleaning, the margins just aren't there. You have to go after those high-ticket services.
So the whole goal here is to find this sweet spot. You're looking for a high-value service where people pick up the phone to hire someone. You want a mid-sized city, enough people to have demand, but not so big that the competition is crazy. And most importantly, you want to look at page 1 of Google and see competitors that deep down, you can beat. That's your green light.
Okay, so once you've got your niche, you have to find what we call the money keywords. These are the literal phrases that a customer who has a problem is typing into Google at this very moment. We don't need a ton of search volume. What we need is high commercial intent. I mean, someone searching for tree removal Dayton isn't just browsing for fun. They've got a problem and they're ready to pay someone to solve it.
And listen, your website, it's a tool. It's not a piece of art. Its one and only job is to make the phone ring. That's it. A domain name with your keywords in it tells Google what you're all about. A few simple pages about your services build trust. And a huge, can't-miss-it phone number right at the top of the page, that is the single most important thing on the site, because that's what gets you paid.
Now, this is the engine that makes the whole system go. Getting to the top of Google really comes down to a two-part strategy. You've got on-page SEO, which is basically making sure your website's content and all the technical stuff is perfect. And then you have off-page SEO, which is all about building your site's authority by getting other local websites and directories, like Yelp, to link back to you. It's like a vote of confidence for Google. Okay, I need you to lean in for this one because this step is completely non-negotiable. Before you even think about talking to a potential business owner, you have to have cold, hard proof that your asset works. Call tracking software gives you a unique phone number for your site.
It lets you record every single call and show a business owner a log of the exact customers you sent their way. You prove your value up front.
Once that phone starts ringing with real customers on the other end, guess what? You hold all the cards. You can go to a local business with a few options, but honestly, the simplest and most stable way to do this is a flat monthly fee. It's predictable, it becomes totally passive, and it's the purest form of digital rent you can get.
All right, let's get real for a minute. This is an incredible business model, but it is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It takes real work and it takes patience. So let's take an honest look at some of the main challenges you're going to need to be ready for.
And this is always the first question that comes up, and for a very good reason. For pretty much any local service, those top 3 listings inside the little lap box, that is prime digital real estate. They get a huge chunk of all the clicks, so you absolutely have to have a plan for getting in there.
So here's the catch with the map pack. To get in, you need something called a Google Business Profile, and that profile has to be verified with a postcard sent to a real physical address in that city. Honestly, that can be the trickiest part of this whole thing. And beyond that, the other major hurdle is just impatience. SEO is a marathon, my friends, it's not a sprint. You have to be prepared to work on your site for 3, 4, even 6 months before you can expect to see those top rankings.
So, you navigate those challenges, you put in the patient work. What's the reward? What's the payoff at the end of all this? Well, it all comes back to the financial freedom and the security that you only get from true asset ownership.
Let's just use some simple, totally realistic numbers here. Imagine your site is ranking, and you have a local business happily paying you a very standard rent of, say, $750 every single month for the leads your site generates.
Now, what does it cost you to keep this whole thing running every month? Well, you've got your web hosting, your domain name, and that call tracking software we talked about. All in, you're probably looking at around $50 a month. Seriously.
And when you do that math, you're left with this: an absolutely incredible profit margin that's almost unheard of in other businesses. This is what makes the whole model so scalable. You can take those profits and immediately start building your next digital property, and then the next, and the one after that.
So we come full circle. The most important point is this: you are in complete control. You're not a freelancer hoping a client keeps paying. You are the digital landlord. You own the rankings, you own the website, and you own the flow of customers. If a tenant ever stops paying their rent, you don't lose your business. You just find a new tenant who's hungry for those phone calls.
Look, at the end of the day, Rank and Rent is a system that rewards smart strategy and patience. It's a model that lets you methodically turn your effort into a whole portfolio of cash-flowing digital assets that you own, free, and clear. So really, the only question left is, what digital assets are you going to build first?